Howdy, MindFitters. Welcome back to another episode. Today is episode 8, and I have Adriana Andelkovic on the show. So Adriana is a few things, but what we dive into today is mainly about her being an intuitive coach, and she explains what that means and how she heals people through diving into people's energy fields to see what's blocking them from getting what they want, whether it's in money, business, love, and all that kind of stuff. And so what she does is she would sit down, dive into somebody's energy field using her intuition, and then you guys unpack it together, and then you can clear that energy. She talks about intuition and how everybody has intuition, but we have disconnected from it. She describes what intuition is, how it sounds, and what sounds overpower it. So things, usually the intuition is the first thing to speak, and it's quiet and kind of soft, and then other things will overpower it, like our mind, our ego, society, all that kind of stuff. And she also talks about how we have been disconnected from it. And she dives into how we can benefit from tapping into our intuition and how to actually do so. She goes into her story and how she discovered her intuition and learned how to make sense of it. Then I go into explaining my experience with my intuition and how I can be scared of it. Sometimes get scared of, following the intuition and it being wrong, or I end up losing money, or, ending up on the street or something like that, which probably wouldn't happen, but it's just a fear. Just a fear kind of talking over the top of my own intuition. She then jumps into talking about the universal powers and how we should believe in a higher power and what that can do for us. And basically, when we start trusting in something greater than ourselves in life, then things will happen for us, and we'll have like a mindset of things happening for us instead of happening to us. So everything that happens in our life is given to us for our journey to either learn and grow from, or hopefully succeed and achieve. What else? Then, it's a fucking big potty, guys, and there's so many good stuff in it. I mean, so much good stuff in it. She talks about alignment and living our lives in alignment, and how when we are in alignment, things can be easy and in flow. And there's like a common misconception that if we want to achieve something, we've got to hustle and grind. But when we're living in alignment, yes, we can hustle, but we don't have to like hustle doing shit whether we hate. We can actually do things that, because it's in alignment, it feels easy and that it flows. And basically how it's okay to hustle when you are in alignment. And also, just to talk about that alignment, you'll hear it towards the end of the podcast that I had a bit of a realization for myself and how I haven't been in alignment. And so basically, for the past year, I've been working on setting up this adventure travel company, and something just hadn't been sitting right with it. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I have decided to step away from doing that for now. Like, it will eventually happen in the future, but it's going to be set up differently, and I'm going to be doing it in a different format, basically. So I'm actually working on some other stuff right now, and I'm not gonna announce it quite just yet, because like I spoke about in my last episode, which was my solo episode. If you haven't listened to it, go and listen to it. but it was basically about my 2019 reflections and my 2020 intentions. And for this year, my intention is basically growth through action. So just take action and do, right? So stop talking and start doing. So basically, I don't want to like talk about it to a million people and blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to fucking take action and not talk about it. Like, obviously, I'm going to talk about it, but I'm just going to do it. And then if it comes up in conversation, whatever, then I'm obviously going to have a conversation about it. But yeah, so I will announce it on the show once things get a little bit more in place and become a little bit more, I guess, set in stone and as it comes to life. But yeah, I'm just going to keep it on the down low at the moment. But just thought I'd update you where I'm at. So yeah. Also, thank you for coming back and listening to the show. I'm really, really pumped with how many people are listening to it, and really pumped with the people that I'm interviewing. It's going really, really well, and yeah, I feel a great sense of achievement. And also, it's getting easier and funner to talk. You know, the more and more I do it. So I actually read this really good quote the other day. Actually, I read it ages ago, but I saved it in my phone. And the quote was, "You can't get good at the thing that you are not doing." So if you want to do something, but you're worried that you are not good at it, just start. Just start somewhere and you will get better at it. Like, you know, a pro soccer player is not a pro soccer player when he first starts soccer training. It takes work and it takes, you know, commitment and, you know, all that stuff to get better. So yeah, on that note, I'm going to leave you with this awesome episode. Also, if you like it, share it around and, yeah, please give it a rating and, you know, like leave a nice review. That'd be great. And I hope you enjoy the episode. See you guys. Fuck.
Great start, guys.
Oh my God, this happened before with
This is what we're in for an hour.
Just giggling.
Not surprised.
Welcome back to another episode of the MindFit Movement Podcast. Today on my couch in kind of sounds weird. Yeah. I have Adriana. Fuck, what's your last name again?
Are you ready? Andelkovic.
Andelkovic. So Adriana is an intuitive coach, a healer, and a speaker. And what else? Facilitator.
Yeah. Well done. It's my Instagram bio. Yeah.
Yeah. So did I do a good job of remembering that?
You did great.
Oh,
Points.
Good. So welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm excited. We've already been talking for like an hour and a half.
I know.
So this is good. Let's see what comes up now.
I've lost like my battery percentage of talking's like 50% now.
I'll do most of it, so it's all good. Maybe.
Perfect. So funny actually how Adriana and I met. So living in Bali, I was living in Bali for anybody that's listening that doesn't know this. I was living in Bali for about 7 months of this year, and there's this really rad place there called Ammo Spa.
Classic.
And it's quite a popular spot because it's got a really nice outdoor setting, and what it does have is a sauna and ice pools and a jacuzzi. So basically, it's really, really good for recovery and I think just all-round wellness. So you go into the sauna for, I don't know, as long as you can sort of stand, I guess. And then you jump into the ice plunging pool. And I I think it's called contrasting. Yeah, contrasting.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, hot and cold contrasting. So there's heaps of like really good benefits from it. So a lot of people out in Bali do go there that are like in the health and wellness kind of space and like to look after themselves. So anyway, I was in the sauna,
I remember this.
and it was like 1 p.m. I think, and I was sitting in the sauna, and then I just I overheard this conversation, and it was, I can't remember what it was, but it was a great conversation, like really, really good. And I was just like, fuck, I need to say something because this is like such a good conversation. I'm like, hey, sorry, I don't mean to like be rude and butt in, but like that's a fucking really good conversation, and I really agree with what you're saying. And then it kind of just
literally how it happened.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, and then we kind of added each other on Instagram, and kind of went from there. And then we kind of kept seeing each other at Ammo Spa and a few places around Bali, and I just felt when we chatted very, very calm around you, and yeah,
that's so lovely.
and it was it was just really nice to talk to you. Like I felt like zero judgment. I could just openly share stuff about me.
Yeah, I remember that one day when we bumped into each other at Motion Cafe Represent, for whoever knows Bali.
Oh yeah.
And we bumped into each other. We ended up just having like an hour long like deep dive debrief about your life, and you're like, whoa, I just spoke about me for like an hour and a half. And I was like, that's okay, one day we'll return the favor and it'll be all about me. And it was like the second time we'd met, and it was just that thing where it's so like easy, just like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So that's what I always remember too.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, it was heaps cool. And it was funny because I didn't actually like going to Motion for some reason. When I went there, I used to feel weird, like a bit of a weird energy, and I always felt really hot there.
Yeah.
Like that. And I like walked, and for some reason I was riding back from Ammo Spa, and then I saw Motion, and I just pulled in, and then I kind of got off my bike, and I was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, and that's funny because I used to feel the same there, and I remember having that conversation, and I always think when I meet people like that, what is this person coming to me for? Like there's always, I'm such a big believer in that, and I remember hearing about what you were working on, like the retreats and everything, and I was like, this guy's onto something freaking cool.
Yeah.
And I'm excited, and it was just that moment of being like, no, these are the type of people that I moved here for, to meet, to see they're doing cool shit, want to impact people's lives. And straight away I was like, oh, I believe in what this guy's doing. So it was like that funny kind of moment for me too. And I hardly went there at that point. And yeah, I felt the same. And then it kind of, as it grew, and then I came back to Melbourne, and it's interesting how to see someone like that grow and see your relationship grow and see what they're working on, and being like, no, I believe in that thing.
Yeah, it's fucking rad. And when I saw you on Insta, you said that you were coming back to Melbourne. I was like, fuck yeah, I can't wait to catch up with this chick. So yeah, we just spent like about an hour chatting in the cafe, having a coffee and stuff. So yeah, let's talk a bit about like, when you say like you're an intuitive coach or like a reader and stuff like that, what does that actually mean?
That's generally the first question I get in my life. What is it that you do?
Yeah.
So essentially, let's break it down into two parts.
Okay.
So 2 parts of what I do. One part is that I'm a reader and a healer, which means it's more deep dive into actual energy work. So essentially what I do is I jump into someone's energy field. I don't think you've ever actually had a reading with me. So I jump into someone's energy field and I have a look at what's blocking them. So what is blocking the way of whatever it is in your life, meeting someone, is it whether it's in business, marketing, sales, money, whatever it is, what is blocking that? Is it from your past? Is it current? Is it what's coming in your future? And being able to decipher it, look at it, clear it away, and unpack it together. I am psychic and I am a medium, but generally I don't like publicize myself as that. The reason being is because I want people to come for the guidance side of what I do, for the clearing, for the energy side of what I do, rather than just knowing all this random stuff about their future without having the skills and tools of how to move through it now as a human. Because that's what we're working with, right? We're working with our human body, our human mind, and all of these things. So I think that's really important. And then I started coaching. So I realized I was really good at business coaching. Generally, small businesses, I could do some developed businesses. And I was like, great, I'm just a business coach. And then people kept coming to me for mindset and life and forgiveness work and life. And I was like, okay, and life. I'm like, okay, there might be something in this other part of what I do. So I realized I could combine together the mindset and the business part as a combo deal.
Okay.
Because generally people are struggling with their business. It's all to do with their mind. It's all to do with the fact they resent their dad when they're 5 years old or something crazy like that. So we would clear this stuff, and then all of a sudden their business would shift. And I was like, there is amazingness in this. And I get really excited about everything. So I got excited. And then I realized that I could use my intuition to guide each session. So I could use, which everyone has access to, that intuitive knowing. So no session is the same. No 3-month program is the same, because it's all about using my intuition to kind of weave. If you could see me, I'm doing like a little snake maneuver to like weave through the shit and the noise, the mess, to find what it is we really need. So essentially what I do, and I realized that if I just showed people what I do to get me to where I am now in comparison to where I was, then that's all I really need to know right now. So that's that in a nutshell, I guess.
In a small little nutshell. I want to talk to you a bit about intuition, because it's something that that I'm like learning about, but I'm very disconnected from.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your intuition?
Yeah, I was talking about this on the other day, and I always describe it as, which if people have heard my work before, they've heard me use this sentence, is it's the soft voice and it's the first voice.
Okay.
However, we're in a society where there's a lot of noise. So then on top of that is your parents' point of view, fear, ego, your thought mind. And then they come in, they're louder, they're more potent. So you listen to them. Your intuition is soft. It whispers to you. It's super patient and placid, and it's hard to hear. Until we quiet the mind, we understand what ego versus intuition is, or thought mind versus intuition is, and then we can fully tap into what is our intuitive being, our intuitive mind. And I know as well, to follow on that, when we were talking earlier, you were saying like, I don't really know how to do this or how to do that or how to do this part. And we were saying, okay, but what do you want? Because at the end of it all, there is something that we want. And this is how I've grown my business, that if it's what I want and what feels good, it's mine. It's next. It's my intuitive nudge. It's what I do. And it will not fail you. And if it does, it's because you needed that exact lesson.
Yeah.
And that is intuition. That is knowing. That is following. And my life just gotten so much easier. So much easier.
So is it a regular practice, like a daily practice you're tapping in?
100%.
Yeah, right.
When I first learned it was through a shit ton of meditation, which I bang on about a lot, and journaling.
Right.
And then now, as it's more a part of my life, it's not really something I'm turning on and off, or it's kind of something that's just always with me, always happening. I'm always asking, what do I need to know? What do I want right now? What would be in alignment for me? What does my body need? So it's more of just a consistent practice. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, how could people benefit from using their, like, tapping in every day? You know what I mean? Like, because I guess a lot of people, only because I'm speaking from experience, you might be able to agree with this, but a lot of people doing shit that they hate to do, right? Yeah. Especially with their careers and their jobs. I mean, there's probably a big portion of people that are doing things that they love, but also there's people that are doing shit because they think they have to do it. So, and then that kind of brings like a bit of unfulfillment and, you know, maybe some, I don't know, some built up resentment and stuff like that, and anger and stuff like that. So what do you think, like how would it benefit for people like that if they could tap in?
Yeah, it's funny. If you could see me, I'm just like getting ready to rant. Like I'm even changing how I sit. I'm like, I am so ready for this question. This is like my life's work. What you're talking about right now is I've really learned to believe one of the reasons I'm here and one of the reasons I want to like jump in, it's almost like I feel like I just want to strangle it. Like I just have that overbearing passion for it. Firstly, we all need to eliminate the word should from our vocab. Like immediately, first thing you do, if you do one thing from this, eliminate the word should.
Okay.
So we were talking earlier about like business and growing business and things like that. So I'm going to use that example first. I shared with you earlier, and I think it's really interesting, that I researched nothing. So when I grew my business, and this isn't for everybody, but I look into nothing. When I opened the business I have now, which is obviously coaching and healing, I did not research structures. I did not research what other people were doing. I did not research how to scale. I followed every step of the way. What do I want next? What does it look like and feel like to me? First few months, I was making like a few $100, sweet, few thousand, until I got to the point where I was making 10,000 a month. And that is where I want so many people. Obviously from here it can grow and grow and grow. It's still new. But it was that. It was like, what do I want this to look like and feel like to me? That is intuition. That is following it. Not what it should look like. It should look like so many things. How do you market? Have a sales funnel, have a this, have a that. No, ew, no. Maybe one day there'll be something I realize that works for me. But right now, I know what works and I do that. And each person you go to, they're like, oh, you should be doing like this. This is how I market it and it works for me. Cool. My makeup, my energetic field is completely different to yours. So if I just focus on what I want and what feels good to me, it will work, period. No questions asked. It will work. And I'm living, breathing proof of that. So that's how it can really impact you in your business. But it's not just there, it's in your entire life. We are hearing these thoughts whether we like them or not. We are always calling things into our reality whether we believe that or not. That's just what's happening. So if we could then slow our thoughts down, meditate, pause, live with more intention, so more mindfully, imagine what we could hear. Perhaps then that means we need to sit with our shadow, which is, I could go into that forever and a day. But it's sitting with that discomfort. You know, my coach once said to me, having a cup of tea with the devil, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I freaking love that. And then moving through that and listening to our intuition, which is saying the simplest things like, you know what, turn left at this street. Don't go straight, turn left, we're quicker. And you do it and you're like, oh my God, it was quicker to turn left. Or you go straight and you're like, there's a freaking traffic jam and I hate my life today. I knew I should have turned left. We've all done this stuff.
Yeah.
That's intuition. That's all it is. But obviously the slower we get and the more we sit with those things, the easier it is to access.
Okay. So does it speak, you said that it speaks softly, but does it speak louder when you start slowing down, or it just speaks more regularly?
That's so funny because I think there's a common belief that it'll be like, you know, well, you listen now, so let's speak louder. Yeah. It's clearer because you are being more intentional with what's going on in your mind. Yeah. But I still have, we need ego, right? I still have a thought mind. I still have an ego mind. Of course I do. I still have a massive, massive shadow self. So and we're meant to. It's the beauty of being human. It's contrast. It's so special. And when you can fall in love with that part of you, the game changes again. And they're still there. They're still trying to have their say with you. They're still trying to communicate with you. But then, and I constantly, every day, have to check in. You know, this morning I cancelled my personal training and I cancelled it last night. Got my period this morning, you know, super, super sacred time for a woman. Let's not go there fully but look into it. We were not meant to train on our first day. And it is a time to be really feminine and in your flow. But for me, I'm like, but I want to train and I haven't gone for 3 days and But my intuition said to me, if you honor the morning of this and you sit with yourself and be slow and sleep and the next week for you will be totally different. I had 2 choices. Fuck the voice. I want to train. Then every day this week be like, why does stuff keep going wrong? Why do I keep getting stuck in traffic? Why does this keep happening to me? Why does that keep happening to me? Because I'm in resistance. which is so common, or I be in flow and I listen, I rest, I honor my body, which is my intuition, and then I keep flowing. And then if things do come up, they're not as frustrating anyway.
Yeah.
Because I'm not exhausted and I'm not energetically depleted. So that's a little example.
Yeah. Gotcha. So where did you first learn about intuition and having intuition and how to learn how to tap into it?
It's funny because I am completely self-taught.
Yeah.
So I'm self-taught as a psychic, self-taught as a healer, self-taught as a coach, which a lot of people are like, alarm bells, and I'm just like, cool, do what you want. And it's pretty funny because the shorter story of the quite hefty story is that about a year ago, I closed down my fashion label and I promised myself to have 3 months off, 3 months to chill with life. So that meant no really regular income. If I was working, it was only 2.5 days a week, which is a lot of time off. And that I had to sit with myself. So I meditated a lot, I wrote a lot, I started writing what is now my book, which is still in the works, but I started writing that, which I didn't even realize that at the time. And I realized that I could hear my whisper. I realized that there was this soft voice, which was generally always accurate. I realized that my anxiety and depression was really intense and I really needed to do something about it. And what I was going through wasn't quote unquote normal. And I realized that I also had an extra gift on top of all this, which was that I could see, hear, feel what other people were seeing, feeling, hearing in their own lives. And at this point, I was like, nah, I'm out. I'm crazy. And I was terrified. And gradually, I realized there was a real gift in this, and it pushed me to get curious about intuition because mine was so intense. And it pushed me to get curious about how I can amplify my own, how I can make sense of it. How do we decipher really quickly? I used to be an indecisive person. So how do we decipher thoughts really quickly? How do we listen quite quickly? And imagine when I'm reading someone, I'm hearing, seeing, feeling everything all at once. So I'm trying to decipher what everything is, so you get really quick at listening to intuition. What I realized at this point though, is that I was really good at doing it for other people, but shit ass for doing it for myself. And people were like, just tap in. And I was like, yeah, it's not that simple. Yeah. And I probably only really realized recently how to really have intuition for myself. And again, it was that constant practice. It was trying one thing and then being like, okay, that wasn't accurate. Trying it again. I'm a boundary pusher, so I always wanted to kind of push and see how far I could push things before the universe or whatever you believe in kind of slaps you in your face. So that's kind of how I learned. Extremely self-taught, but my biggest things I'd say to people are, which I always share, meditate every day, journal, so writing down what's going on in your mind, and just start playing with it. A really cool way to play with it is have a totem, which I talk about all the time. So just say I want to start seeing, I said white feathers. And then I just started seeing them everywhere to the point where now, it's quite funny, no shit, I'm looking at your shirt behind you and there is a bird with feathers on the bird. Yeah. And it is the only printed shirt in that thing. And they follow me everywhere. And it was a really cool way to start practicing my intuition and seeing how we can really, really be guided when we believe we can be shown that we're on the right path.
Yeah. Yeah, so I struggle with it so much. Yeah. But for instance, I said this on the last podcast that I did with my friend Emily. Yeah. But I was just explaining how my cousin and we went to this live podcast and we had raffle tickets and they were giving away 5 hats. Right. So they were pulling the raffle ticket out of a hat and then giving away 5 different hats. And so they gave a couple of hats away and then one came up and it had a horse on it and said stallion. And I got this whisper. It was like, you're going to get that hat. So then I turned to my cousin and I was like, hey, Jules, I'm going to get this hat. He's like, what? And then they pulled my raffle ticket out. And then
So cool.
and I looked at him and I just showed him the raffle ticket and he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, yeah. And then I went and got the hat and sat back down and he was like, dude, what the fuck? How did you know that? And I was just like, I'm witchy as fuck. Right? Because like, I know that I do have something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's just intuition or there's something more.
Yeah.
But I know there's something. I just don't know how to completely tap into it. So, and I want to explore that more.
I guess, what are you afraid of if you were to do that more in your like day-to-day life?
Probably not doing the social norm.
Okay.
Even though I'm all about like, don't follow the social norm, do
Yeah.
what lights you up and do what's truth by you. But there's still that little bit of fear. It's kind of like, but what happens if it like turns me broke? What happens if, you know, like, I'm on the streets, you know, not that I'd be on the streets, but, you know what I mean?
So then what we need to work through, so I always ask people these types of questions because then what we need to work through is trust in the universe. It actually has nothing to do with your intuition anymore. Does that make sense? What we just saw there? And everyone can do this for themselves. Like everyone, like, do it now. Ask yourself that question right now if it's something you're not practicing, because already we can see it has so much less to do with tapping into intuition and more to do with the fact that you don't actually know what you believe in that's higher than you. So who do you trust? This isn't about trusting ourselves. It's about trusting, I believe in the power of the universe. Again, replace that with God, source, higher self, whatever. And there's a lack of trust in that. Because if you fully trusted in something higher than you and being, let's use on the streets, right, wasn't part of your path, would that happen to you?
No.
And if it is meant to be part of your soul's path, will it happen and will it be the perfect lesson?
Yes.
Exactly. So this is it.
Well, I don't want to be on the streets.
And I get that. But if you really trusted in the universe, would that happen?
I don't think so.
Exactly right. So do you know what you believe in that's higher than you? Have you sat with that?
I haven't sat with that, but like I do believe in the universe, like the power of the universe, but I have never thought about it a lot. Okay. I just kind of like, yes, I know there's something else out there because too many things have fallen into place for me to be like, you know, nothing exists, you know? So, but yeah, I've never really looked into it too much.
Interesting. So do you see now how this is more about figuring out, understanding, sitting with what you believe in that's higher than you, trusting in it, than your intuition?
I don't really get that bit.
Cool. So that's important that you get it. So the thing is that there's two parts. There's so many parts to this, right? And usually what's interesting is I just speak to people about intuition. This is how you tap and listen to your intuition. But intuitively, right now, I feel like it's more about the other part of our intuition, which is understanding what we believe in. So having that higher level, so if first, deciding what it is we believe in has to come first. We don't have to have a definitive decision. I hadn't definitively decided probably up until the last few months, and I'm still exploring with my perception on God and all of those things to not get too spiritual, but that's still what I'm playing with. So first is we want to kind of understand what our baseline foundation, what we believe in is. And then we want to work on just trusting it to the point where every day my mantra would be, I trust wholeheartedly in the universe. I trust in the universe. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I'm here and now. To the point where everyone who knows my work knows my obsession with mantra is that's exactly, even before this, when I was in here preparing, I pray. I say everything that comes through me is exactly what needs to hear for the person. Everything that comes through me is divinely guided. And this is all mantra. This is all prayer, however you want to look at it. But until we trust wholeheartedly that that's going to come through me, I could be sitting here and umming and ahhing about even telling you this story that I've never told before. because I don't fully trust that I'm always divinely guided and that I trust fully in the universe and what comes through me, what happens to me, to the point where I'm like, if I'm running late, like I was today, it's exactly where I'm meant to be. There is a reason for that, because I trust so deeply in the universe.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean about this is what has to come first, because then, of course, we're going to trust our intuition more, because we trust our path more, we trust the universe more. No brainer. Right?
Yeah.
Does that see how that makes sense? And then you start to tap into your intuition, to listening to your intuition, to little techniques with your intuition, because your trust is deepened, strengthened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see Ant's mind just pondering.
Ticking.
Oh, he's not going to sleep tonight, you guys.
Yeah, totally. Fuck.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because this is the type of stuff that single-handedly has changed who I am. I wasn't like this. This isn't, I was indecisive. I was crippled with anxiety. And it's fundamentally because I didn't have that trust in where I was, in how it was playing out. And if you can have that trust and acceptance, I can't explain the change that you feel on a cellular level until we really get to feel that for ourselves. And of course, it is still happening to me. So I guess for people who want to play with it like you do, I would suggest, how do we deepen our trust first? How do we accept wholeheartedly where we're at? How do we trust the timing of our lives? Huge one.
Yeah.
How do we deepen our connection to faith, to us, to self?
Yeah.
And then how do we then keep tapping into our intuition?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make a little more sense? As much as it's kind of like, I want my mind to just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know where my mind went?
Yeah.
I was like, So I've been single for 6 years, and there's like never really been a time where I've met a chick that has been like, fuck yeah, I want to like date you. Yeah. And I'm like, is that the fucking universe just, holding back, and it's like, it's meant to be that way? I'm not meant to date a whole heap of chicks until one day the perfect one's just going to turn up. Well, not perfect.
Yeah.
No, I can't say perfect.
I get it.
But one that's going to be aligned with me. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny because we were talking about this before too. When it comes to love and relationships, I'm definitely still figuring that one out. I'm not going to pretend to be any expert there. But, buts, we shouldn't have them either. But, I'm going to go with the but. Then there's on the flip side, right? The argument could be that, or have you not been following your intuition the last 6 years? Have you not been fully in alignment? Alignment is key. Alignment. I'll explain that a little bit more in a second too. And is that why you haven't met anybody? Which this conversation is important, because this is where people get confused. This is where people want to throw in the towel, and they're like, but there's two sides to every thought. And I know someone said to me the other day, don't you get exhausted? You just get better at figuring out which side of the thought is the truth. Because on one side of this thought, and these are so much polarity here, is that it wasn't meant to be, and I meant to meet that person, it's just meant to fall into my lap. The other side of the thought is, nah man, you're in denial of something and you haven't been in alignment following your intuition, so you haven't met that person. Do you see how this can start to get really, really, I'm going to use the term, a head fuck?
Yeah.
Because it can.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And this is it. This is where. But as we start to strengthen our trust in ourselves, in the voice, in all of those things, we start to get really real with ourselves and be like, you know what? It is because I haven't been in alignment. All right, I'm going to show up for myself there. I'm going to try X, Y, Z. I'm going to be more. I'm going to be present with this, whatever it is. And just to recap on that alignment point.
Yes, please.
Because it's such a big part of this, is that alignment is feelings of joy, ease, flow, right? So I'm constantly asking myself, what do I need to feel in alignment right now? What do I need right now? And I used that question before as well. Gym this morning, it wouldn't have been in alignment. And that's where, and it's not using it as an excuse, because then there's that whole set of the argument. It's just finding what alignment feels like, looks like to you as an individual. And that comes in business, self, dating, everywhere. So that's a little thing you can kind of look at in that space.
Yeah, okay.
As well.
So like, let's just use you for an example. This morning, you were like, I really want to train, but something said don't, or I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
So, because, you know, there's this thing people say, you know, if you want something, you need to work hard for it. And there's oftentimes you do stuff that you don't feel like doing. And, you know, it's like sometimes when you don't feel like going to the gym, you just got to show up anyway. So how do you like decipher that thought and your intuition, you know, like...
So this is hilarious to me because my mindset on when it comes to this stuff has changed like no one's business in the last 6 months. It doesn't have to be hard, period. And we talked about this before too. It is allowed to be easy. My life is easy. If something is hard, it's gone. It's allowed to be easy. It's allowed to be fun. I don't buy it. I don't buy that you show up on the days where you don't want to. Bullshit. I'm not freaking trying to become an Olympic athlete anyway. I want to train to have a fit, healthy mind and to honor my body. If that's the truth, then going to the gym when my body is clearly depleted, and for anyone who has painful periods will understand that you need to honor that thing. And then it's a no-brainer. However, there's still that thought that came up last night that says, you were lazy. This is bullshit. This is an excuse. You're not going to get, and this is the truth, you're not going to get what you want. You're finally on a really good path with your health and fitness, and now that you're going to miss this day again, you're going to ruin it all. And I just sit back and I'm like, whoa. Let's all chat. So I this is no shit. I'm on my couch last night. I picture us all coming together. Society, my ego, my thought mind, my intuition, my soul. And I talked about this on a podcast long ago. I call it board meetings.
Board meetings.
And we all have a fucking board meeting. And I'm like, what's going on here? And I listen to them. I hear them out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I sound crazy, but it works. And I look at it and I say, okay, I get how those thoughts are really valid. But what's the truth here?
Yeah.
The truth is XYZ, what we just talked about. So intuitively and to be in alignment, sleeping in, having the morning to rest makes sense. It doesn't mean I do it all week. It means I chose to do it today.
Yeah.
It means that tomorrow maybe I do yoga and I go to the gym. Or maybe it doesn't mean that. Maybe I'm still really energetically depleted. But the more you get to know your body, the easier, and your mind, soul, the easier this gets. At the start, was this easy? No. Just keep trying it in different ways with different things. So, yeah, totally. I hear that comment all the time. I still hear it in my mind. But when being in alignment is your number one priority, and when my mental health became, for real this time, my number one priority, none of that mattered anymore. And the truth is it doesn't. And the truth is it can be easy. This is easy. Everything can be easy. And I've had people comment to me and say, you know, you didn't do that business idea because, you know, sometimes you just want everything to be easy and maybe you just needed to try with that more and then the success is at the end of that. And I'm like, that's a cool story. If that's what the story you want to believe, go for it. I see how that's working out for you. But I know intuitively that that's not the way life needs to be, and definitely not the way I want my life to be. What if you could choose for it to be easy? Would you choose that?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
100%.
So I just started saying it. No shit. Yeah, I like mantras. All day. This is easy. This is easy. This is allowed to be easy. What if this was easy? Okay, this is easy. What is the easy? And it's not easy in this lazy kind of where we expect things to fall in our laps way. I work for what I want. I've really worked for my inner healing. I've taken the steps, but I'm also know it doesn't need to be like trudging through mud all of the time. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and would you say that when it's easy, you mean things are just flowing and you like, I guess motivation's high and things are just coming easy for you, as opposed to like really feeling the resistance, but really slogging through that resistance and kind of, like pushing through the hard stuff.
Yeah, and doesn't mean there's not hard stuff, but exactly that. When hard stuff comes up, I can look at it. Okay, we look at it. This feels a little out of alignment. Is it that it's not for me? And again, powerful questions. Or is it that I'm in resistance because of something deeper underneath this, an old belief system, an old trauma? Or is this just truly not mine? And I'm always asking myself stuff like that. Again, using this exercise stuff as an example. A trainer I saw, he was like, and then you should be doing like legs this day. And I was like, no. I said to him, I just want to enjoy exercise again. If you can make that happen for me, cool. Like I enjoy boxing now. Yeah. I enjoy weight training. I enjoy bodywork stuff. And I enjoy exercising for 5 minutes, and that's how I'm finding it fun again. And he was like, oh, cool. Cool. And I said to him, I won't weigh myself. I won't measure myself. It's purely just and he was like, totally respect that. And it was really important that I followed that in that time. Is it harder? So my perception is that doing the other option is better because it's harder, more work. How much are our minds wired to believe that?
Yeah, 100%.
Or is it okay that I found a way that I enjoy exercising 4 to 5 times a week, and the byproduct of that is a healthier body, healthier mind? Sweet. Our body, minds, souls, planet, food, everything only knows energy. So it only knows what we tell it to know. We spend so much of our life in resistance and in that push-pull that we just don't need to be there. We really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I struggle with resistance a lot. Yeah. And what you said before was really interesting about, is this actually like what I want to do? Or am I actually resisting this? Yeah. Like, because there's belief systems and stuff.
Yeah.
So how the fuck do you, like, how do you decipher what is what?
And this is like what I was talking about before, about both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Where when you start practicing this, you're just like, I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. Meditation.
Yeah.
I know, particularly you personally, are someone who struggles with resistance because it comes up every time. When we speak, a lot of your stuff, everyone has their thing. Mine's around control. So I'm a control freak. Dating, in business, in personal life, my thing is control. So if you look underneath my trauma, underneath my childhood, a lot of it was because I lost control.
Okay.
I lost a sense of control in my house. My dad was very controlling. We didn't have a lot of a say. He had bipolar. He was very suicidal. So my life was very turbulent. There was no stability. So what did I crave? Control. And as I learned more and more about my childhood, and as I remembered more about my childhood, I can see now how that's manifested into becoming a control freak. So imagine telling a control freak to meditate and listen to intuition and trust the universe. It was difficult.
Yeah.
But so possible. And it's practice. It's noticing every time, I'm using mine as an example, that the control will come up. I see you. I know you used to keep me safe, but I don't need you right now. Every time the surrender comes up, thank you. I know you used to keep me safe, but I don't need you right now. That is all. Everyone has a thing. Your thing, surrender. My thing, control, right? We've just established that. Everyone has it. But how do we look at it and say, you know what? You kept me safe. When I realized that this with control literally is what kept me safe as a child, I was so emotional. How amazing is that? That our minds do this thing to keep us safe. That's all your lack of surrender is trying to do, which is resistance. So resistance, surrender. The opposite is surrender, right? Opposite of a lot is surrender.
Opposite of what?
Opposite of a lot of things is surrender. So control, surrender. Resistance, surrender.
Just to butt in, so this life coaching program that I'm in at the moment, it's a group program. His whole mantra is breathe, surrender, and trust.
And that's funny because A, synchronicities, but B, once you think you've surrendered, surrender again, and then surrender again.
Oh, man. Maybe I'm not surrendering.
Well, generally we're not. And it was quite funny when I thought I surrendered and then I really felt what surrender is. I laughed at myself. I'm like, that was cute. I can't believe I thought that was surrender.
Yeah.
That was not surrender. It is surrender, but as again, surrender, we're getting to see underneath things. You don't trust. So we have a blockage with trust. Trust in the universe, trust in ourselves. So how do we surrender? Do you see how this all comes back down to the same pattern and the same belief? So again, we see here, and this, I'm going to assume the reason this is coming up is because a lot of people listening are going to feel quite similar things, because that's generally what happens. So again, we need to go back to the foundation of what do we believe in? What do we trust? How can we build our trust? So again, we've looped back to that exact same need, so to speak.
Right. So the trust to what you believe in.
The trust to yourself and the trust in something higher than you. They're two things we all need to establish, because we need to trust ourselves. Yeah. And then we also need to trust in something higher than us that always has our best interest at heart, at consideration. So, I think they come kind of hand in hand to be worked on side by side, 100%. But you can see here how then the resistance we feel is again in turn of all this stuff happening underneath. And then underneath that, the antidote, trust. Yeah.
So let me get this right. Let me see if I can get this right. So the resistance is because you're not surrendering.
Well, the way to move through resistance is surrender.
Is to surrender.
Yes.
Right.
That's how I would frame that. Yeah.
And how would we surrender?
So I believe in this case we're looking at, in this scenario, it would be to look at our belief systems. It's twofold. It's to look at our belief systems. What do we trust in now? What do we want to trust in? How do we strengthen our trust in the universe and ourselves? That's part A. Part B is, where did this come from? Which is why so many of us do childhood work, trauma work, right? Where did this come from? Who gave this to us? When in my life did I need to be in resistance to survive? When was the first time I felt this? You know, those real probing questions that coaches generally ask. And it's coming back to that, we're not trying to find ourselves, we're trying to remember who we are. And it always has to come back to that. And in the remembering, we unbecome a lot of things. And in this case, you get to unbecome the fact that you've held on to resistance so much of your life.
My one of my mates, he loves the word like unbecoming. So it's like the hero's journey is like unbecoming. So when you like, the journey back to yourself is a lot of unbecoming.
It's all unbecoming. Like, it's a big statement, but it's seriously, you know, if you picture it, right, we're born a dot. We're born, and whoever's heard about the dot theory gets this, but we're born a dot. As our life goes on, we get layers put on top of us. We're born, we get put into our father's arms, and he wasn't really ready for a baby. We feel layer. You know, we turn 4 and our auntie says something. Layer. Our dad leaves, our parents divorce, we get bullied in year 7, etc., etc., etc. Layer. And then we get to this point, generally in our 20s, where we're like, shit, this isn't even me anymore. This is my fear speaking. This is the fact that in year 7, Bobby bullied me. That's that speaking. And now I'm in resistance because of this. And then we take off a layer. And then we take off a layer to the point where I'm healing layers I didn't even know were bloody there. I'm hearing, remembering, feeling stuff that I had no idea was there. So we keep unbecoming, and we keep taking off the layer until we return back to our center, to the dot, to our alignment. And of course, life keeps proceeding. So then something else happens and it adds and takes away layers. And that's totally, totally normal.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really, really powerful way. And understanding what your core thing, I call it a thing, is. So mine being control, yours being resistance. Find out what yours is. So it could be an array. Oh my gosh, there's so many. But knowing what yours is does make it easier to work through.
Okay. Because I do feel like there's a bit of control there as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, say when, how do I explain this? When I was kind of like getting to know this chick, I sort of felt like I was always thinking about stuff, and like if we had a disagreement about something, I'd want to sort it out straight away because I wanted to know what the outcome was going to be.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't just sit and let it be and be cool with it, right?
Yeah.
Because I was worried about what was going to happen, and I was kind of controlling the outcome. So then I knew straight away, all right, is it going to be finished? Are we going to be finished here, or are we going to keep going, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, does she like me or does she not? I need to know right now.
And who in your life do you feel like was that person when you were younger?
Fuck.
Because we mirror in our relationships, right? We find that again.
Yeah.
And that's something you can think about. And when we really tap into that, that's where we start seeing our lessons and our learnings and our repetitive behavior. Because essentially, usually we find our parents in them. And you were doing that because you needed to do that as a child. You needed, or someone was doing that to you. So I'm someone who looks at things very deeply. This is why people are like, don't you get exhausted in there? And I don't. I love it. It does mean I need a lot of time to myself, but I love it. But there's so much we get to look at in all of this, and we get to, we are a really small percent of the population who gets to deep dive into these parts of us, into our past, into our shadow. Yeah.
And heal that so we can unbecome and become
what we truly want. And it's remembering that, gosh, I could go on to like a bazillion different tangents with this stuff to the point when this is where trust comes in, right? You have to trust what you're going to talk about, but it's that remembering we are already whole, worthy, and complete just as we are right now. When I realized that, because I was so fixated on my trauma, on the fact that I was broken, on the fact that I need to heal from relationships and it's like I became very obsessed with the quote-unquote healing, when the actual truth is that I'm cool. And, this is where I remind people, have fun. While you're on this journey, play. Whatever plays to you, go and do it. Yeah. That's where the integration is. But also it reminds us not to take it all too seriously. Which is very easy for us to do. And it's like, cool, I'm not broken. I just want to understand and remember myself on a deeper level.
Yeah. Then something that was a big thing for me when I was in Bali, I had that realization because like I do read a lot of books about audio books, podcasts. I watch stuff on YouTube all about self-development, and like that's a lot of what I do, right? Like continually looking and searching to see what I can, I don't want to say what's wrong, but maybe it was. But I'm looking for areas that I can improve, right? And then I was talking to my nutrition coach, and one of his favorite questions is like, what are you reading at the moment? He likes his clients to be continually reading and learning. And I was like, I'm reading, I think it was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, right? And I was like, but I kind of don't like it, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what else have you got on the go? And I told him a few other things. He goes, why don't you just like read, what is it? Fiction. What's the one that's made up?
I always
fiction
forget
or
this
non-fiction?
Too.
Whatever. The one that's made up.
I always forget that too.
So like read something that's just made up. That's a made up story, or what about an autobiography or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it just fucking hit me. I was like, bam, holy shit. I'm like continually searching for something that's wrong with me or some part of me that I need to improve.
Yeah.
Where I just need to be like, chill the fuck out. You are already whole and complete the way you are. There's nothing wrong with you.
Exactly.
You just have areas that you want to improve.
And that That's gold.
Yeah.
To come to that realization, and I always say to people, there is power in being. There is so much power in just being. And when I realized that, and I was a doer, like a hardcore doer, and there is so much power in just being. Just being who you want to be, just hanging out, just being. I was someone who overcrammed my days and, you know, would be like, okay, I've got to leave at 2 because I've got to be somewhere at 3 and da, da, da. And I have like a 3-hour gap between this and the next thing because I value being in the middle. Yes, I have things that I do need to kind of happen eventually.
Yeah. Cleaning
and admin and paying for some bills and da da da. But I also know that I have space. I created space to do them how it feels right to me. And if I feel the need to go sit at the park for 2 hours and ground on grass, I can. If that's what alignment is to me. If you had told me a year ago that you're going to become the type of person that just like lays out on the grass for 2 hours and chills, I'd be like, who has time for that?
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
And this is it, right? And then you start valuing the being. So essentially is what it's just telling you to do in a shape or form. And we're so obsessed with doing, and in this industry too, we can get very obsessed with that.
Yeah, you get addicted to it. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Cool. So now we've just supplemented addiction with a different addiction.
Yeah.
And we're not going to the root of the pain, to the root of the problem. When we be, why we avoid it is A, because we're told it's not valuable, but B, also because we don't want to know what comes up. When we be, man, we hear some shit that goes on in our head. And that's scary for people.
Yeah.
Really. And the more people I work with one-to-one, the more I'm seeing this as a real issue. Yeah, like deeply something that's started to scare me almost, to see that, wow, we're really in avoidance here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
Fucked up.
And so much comes up when we just chill out.
Yeah, that's why people don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like people that say, oh, I tried meditating, but I can't do it. I just feel like I need to be doing something. And it's like, yeah, well, you should be doing it more.
It's actually funny.
Not should. You maybe
probably
benefit.
Bloody language, right?
Yeah.
But funny little story, side note from that is I was at an event, running an event on the weekend, and it was a lot of entrepreneurs. And one of the women, she's so beautiful, she was saying that she currently doesn't feel like she has time to do her side business because her work's so full on by the time she gets home, etc., etc. Things have been coming up on the weekend. I was like, okay, cool, interesting. So we went into things like, what is the fear behind starting the side hustle? Generally, that's more the case. We bounced off some things there. And then she said this: I have a 2-week break, or 3, whatever it was, over Christmas, New Year's period. And I am going to, on that break, do all my errands that I've been avoiding around the house. And I'm going to really work on the side business. You can imagine my face.
Fuck.
A year ago, I would be like, yeah, do it. And I was
fucking hustle.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. We're in a room full of people. I was like, whoa. You just told me that you feel like you haven't had time in the last 6 months to really connect with your partner, to go on dates. Is that not what you just told me? She said, yes. I said, then are you creating space for that on the break? No. What are you really avoiding then? She's like, shit, I'm staying busy. And I was like, yeah, there's no side hustle on this break. You were chilling. You were using this time to really see and connect with your partner. For sure, do some stuff around the house. I get it. Life's got to go on. But I really I rarely will make a rule like that for somebody. But after, obviously, this was a whole conversation, I really saw that. And then it's funny because the guy I was hosting the event with, he's the opposite to me. And it was really valuable having us kind of bounce off each other. Because he's someone that's far more like, no, do it. Like, there's more of a hustler, which is really serving for him in its own way because there's no right and wrong. And I said to her, look, if you're going to take both of ours, I want you to just set aside a few hours with intention and intent around that this time is to look at what I want to create in my side hustle, in my small business, and do it with a lot of intention around it. Instead of running around every day being like, How many times have we done shit like that? I've got to like do stuff around the house, and I've got to like work on the business, and I've got to do this, and we kind of just get lost in it all. So it was a really interesting conversation, and kind of circles back to how do we just be and play and all of that.
Yeah. I think what you just said there too is important about there's no right and wrong. Because like some people are, it's good for them to hustle and do that, right? Yeah. That's what brings them fulfillment. Yeah. But then other people, because I used to be a bit that way. I used to be always doing something, right? Yeah. But I was running away. I wasn't doing it for the right reason. Exactly. So, and then now I'm more chill. Yeah. I don't do as much anymore. And when I kind of have my downtime, I will go and sit in the sun by myself. Yeah. With no music or anything, and I would just I don't meditate, but I just kind of just let shit be,
which is amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's because there's Gary V, and he fucking says you got to hustle and do you always got to put in work if you want shit, but that's fair, but that's for some people.
The interesting thing with Gary V, right, is that most people miss is that he's in alignment. Yeah. Is he fully... Look, we could argue that. He looks quite stressed. But he's in alignment. What he's actually preaching is alignment.
Yeah, he is.
He doesn't use that terminology, but this is where his message gets misconstrued. Yeah. He's actually preaching alignment.
Yeah, he is. And he's always, over money, it's always... service,
exactly
serve before going after money. Yeah. And do what makes you happy, if it's big money or small money.
But a lot of the time, first we need to pull back, strip back, come back before we can understand which side of the fence suits us more. Because if you're listening now and you're like, yeah, well, I'm just the doer, I'd debate that. Strip back, see what comes up, feel into it, and then start re-adding. I took away from a lot of my life, and then I slowly just started re-adding parts that served me. And I always remind people of this, and it's this quote: productivity in alignment is amplified. Productivity in alignment is amplified. Right. It changed my life.
Where'd it come from?
My coach.
Okay.
Thanks, Febs. Where she got it from, I don't know. And I was just like, shit, it is. Now what I can do, and I've preached this a lot, in a 3-hour sitting is what it used to take me 8 hours. Because I'm more in alignment. So when I am being productive, it's amplified, which means I have more time to just chill. But to find out what alignment means to you, it does take us kind of coming back first. And I think that's just in everything we've talked about, in this, it's really important to circle back to that and remember that, because then we go on this crazy kind of frantic journey when sometimes we just need to step the hell back. Yeah.
Alignment.
Yeah.
How the fuck do we figure out alignment?
Alrighty, I'm changing positions again.
So that's just been an hour on intuition.
Let's go, guys. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's
alignment.
do it. Yeah.
Alignment is, I'm going to call it everything. Obviously, as an energy healer and what I do in that space, it is about bringing people back to alignment and meeting that with action, with aligned action. Because I don't just sit here and think, oh, it'll just come to me. I take aligned action and then things flow. But okay, let's define what alignment is first. Alignment to everyone is different. Alignment on a broad scale is what we talked about before: lightness, flow, ease, center, all of those things. Alignment is the way we feel like we are at the truest, highest version of ourselves. Alignment does not mean that you're happy all of the time. Alignment does not mean you are light ease all of the time. Yeah. Alignment means that we allow moments of contrast. So we're allowing that emotional scale. We're allowing what we perceive as good and bad, sad and happy, angry and elated. But when we are in alignment, I feel sadness deeper than ever before. but I also feel joy, contentment, ease deeper than ever before. And who is already on this kind of part of this journey would be like, oh my God, yeah. So just to clarify, it does never ever mean not feeling those feelings. You know, Saturday night, something came up for me before I went to a friend's birthday and I called a friend crying, right? For me to reach out, cry immediately after something happens and feel the sadness is huge. Like, it was a pat me on the back kind of moment in my life. And I felt the sadness for 5 minutes. I moved through the emotional scale to contentment in 5 to 8 minutes.
Wow.
That's how quickly we can bounce back to alignment. So we zip right back, and you almost picture yourself in the center and this little zigzag of that is life. But the zigzag becomes tighter because we can come back to alignment.
Oh, yeah.
So then alignment is ease and flow. Does it mean that whole night was cruisy? No, I was home in bed by like 11:30. But that was also what needed to come up for me that night, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that automatically have the best night ever. It means I didn't want to cry on tap for the rest of the night. I had fun with my friends. I was really present with them. I had really beautiful combos. That was alignment in that space. Does that start to make sense of what alignment looks like and feels like?
Yeah.
And what it isn't as well, which is super important.
Yeah.
But then people are like, okay, how do we get there?
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's what you're looking at me like right now. Your eyes are just kind of like, but what do I do? And it's so much about what I was saying earlier. It's figuring out what we want and don't like, what we like and don't like, what brings us lightness, what brings us dis-ease in our lives, who is toxic, what is toxic. I could go on forever and ever and ever about those types of things. But actually starting to note this down, journal about it. When you are feeling in alignment, ease, flow, light, write down what that felt like. What did you do just before that? Who were you around? What did you work on? What did you talk about? And then just start noticing it. Just bring an awareness to it. Awareness really does have to come first, because without the awareness, okay, how the hell do we feel alignment if we don't feel, understand, see the awareness around what's coming up for us first? And then it's constantly challenging ourselves. So to really circle back to what alignment is, there's still areas of my life that I'm like, oh, I don't understand what alignment is for me yet there. And that comes to the point of trial and error. A really cool kind of exercise you can do is that ask the universe to show me the totem. So show me the feather when I am in alignment. Start noticing, journaling, dot pointing. What do I feel like when I'm in alignment? If you're in alignment no point of the time, that's okay. Cool. Try new things. Try different healings, try different conversations, try different people, try different exercise. And slowly, even if your moments of lightness and joy are on the 2 percentile right now, it's still there. I'm someone who's come back from really deep anxiety and depression, so I get it. My moments of alignment back then were much smaller. Last night alignment to me was watching Netflix and eating chocolate on my couch. That's not like this spiritually awoken moment in my life. Like, no, it felt good. Yeah. I needed it. I wanted to chill out. So I'm really mindful of sharing like that side of this with people as well, because I think we can get really caught up in like, but that wasn't like me discovering anything about myself. Get over it. Like, you're gonna be all right. So I think that's important too. But again, it takes time. What do you wonder about in this space? I guess is interesting too. What makes, when you think about alignment, what's something you wonder about? Because I always wonder, what do people wonder?
I don't know what I wonder. Like, what do you mean? Sorry, ask the question again.
Like, I guess, what are you curious about in that space of alignment? Because I feel like everyone is so different. And this is a question I think everyone should ask themselves, because sometimes we actually don't stop and be like, what am I wondering about alignment? Can I just be in it? Can I just try it? And we complicate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if, I wonder how do I get into alignment? And I wonder, what does it what does it actually feel like? And I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah, so what makes you feel in alignment now, like in your life?
When I'm doing things that are joyful and I'm having fun doing them.
Yeah.
And then because I feel so much joy, things just happen a lot more easier.
Yeah, because we can manifest, we can call in much quicker, easier.
Yeah.
Whole other topic.
Yeah.
But so what types of things bring you that feeling? What's something that you do that brings you that?
Doing this podcast.
Great.
Going to the gym.
Yeah.
Having like good conversations.
Yeah.
Catching up with like my cousin once a week.
Yeah. Shout out.
Woo, Jules. You. I think he's made it on nearly every episode. I've mentioned him on every episode.
Damn, Jules.
Yeah. He's good. Yeah, but like I haven't got the whole like money thing figured out yet, in alignment. So I'm like, is there part of that like to be in alignment? Like, do you get in alignment with a career path or a certain, like your purpose when you're in alignment and that kind of stuff? Like,
this goes into so many trajectories of and paths of life, but first I will say that it is good for us to understand what brings us joy. So I would always say to people, write a list. I'm a list kind of gal. Write a list of 20 things that bring you joy, and do that more. Simple, right? Go do it now. 20 things. Write a list. Do them more often. If you can, do one thing a day. So one really cool thing that people can do is like create like a bingo card of all the things that light you up. I got this from my friend Gabby, thank you. And she called it a light me up list. And every day do one. Or simply, I just get people to write a simple list. Dance in the morning. It can be really, really easy things that bring you a feeling of lightness. This is essentially alignment. Do one a day. Great. So already we're in that feeling more and more times in a day. The other thing I'd always say to people too is the deep work. Even though we've said in this, obviously we don't just want to be doing that kind of deep work, but really diving into that. Recently I tried breath work and bodywork healing, and for me that was really out of my comfort zone. Because I've done a lot of different types of healing, but not that. And that allowed me to go deeper into who I am, why I am the way I am again. So that's really important to find out where our blocks are coming from. Obviously, this is what I do as well. I show people their blocks when I read them. So those things are really important. When it comes to things like money and business, those things will help. Doing that first is always amazing. Hence why I began with that story of why I end up working on people's lives so much in business sessions. Because generally that's what's blocking us. But I also teach money. We established before, I teach a lot of random things. Like there's a lot that I've decided that I'm capable and worthy of teaching. Like, okay, let's just throw this in the mix. So one of them like is money and purpose-driven stuff. But in that space, the only way to clarity is through action. Analysis paralysis, whatever you want to call it. But that's what's going on for a lot of people right now, and potentially for yourself as well. We avoid taking action because we want to know what it is first. I just try the damn thing. Doesn't work? Cool. And, Gary Vee talks about this a lot, and this is one of my favorite points. He says, try it again, fail, works. The quicker I fail, the better I'm doing. The quicker I realize something doesn't work, the better I'm doing. People call it failing forward, whatever you want to call it.
It's funny, I've heard that saying fucking like 3 times in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Failing forward, yeah. So like, and on another a podcast that I did with Jamie Ray, we were talking about changing like your perception of failure.
Yeah.
Like, don't make failure scary or this big thing that, you know, you're a fuck up or whatever. Like, make it like your friend, you know, and basically be an action orientated failure as opposed to a unaction orientated failure. Imagine
if you took action towards your mission, towards your business every single day without worrying about the outcome, how far you'd be in 30 days. Imagine. Instead of the opposite, which a lot of people do, is sit on it until we think we've figured it out. Have we spoken to enough people? Do we understand enough of it? Imagine if I got people in my mastermind to do this, which is microtasking. If we set a goal and microtask or do one small thing towards it every single day, imagine what would happen. Doesn't have to be right, doesn't have to be perfect, but one thing
chip away at it
all the bloody time. And you could say I've failed in, I honestly don't think I have. I closed a business after 4 years of running it. Ran it to no money, $0, and was like, you know what, I can pick this off the ground, because I definitely could have, because of what the deals and stuff that was about to come to fruition, which doesn't matter, or I can say truthfully, this isn't in alignment to me and I don't want to do this anymore, and I'm closing and I'm moving on. And that's what I did. I do not feel like a failure at all. And in this business, has there been moments where I'm like, okay, that I don't really want clients like that, or that doesn't really sit that well with me? I don't see any of it as a failure, not at all. But it is taking those aligned action and quickly, so we can just be like, yep, no.
Yeah, I like that. Actually, I love that.
Yeah, you're gonna do it.
Yeah, like, the faster you fail, the faster you know that it wasn't right for you.
Exactly, and it's no big deal. It's like, cool story, bro. Like, I literally always say that to people. I'm just like, cool story, don't care, let's go. Like,
just a fucking cold, hard bitch.
And this is why the joke always is that I'd be a really scary boss, and to be fair, I kind of would. But that's the thing, it just doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter. We harp on about that shit so much. It's like, cool, did you try it? Yeah, did it work? Yes, no? Cool. What's next? What are we doing? I spend so little diving into that part of life because we don't need it. Did we get the lesson from it? Did we get the learning? Did we get the gift, the value, whatever you want to call it? Yeah, great. What are we trying next? And this is really important when it comes to business and money and marketing, and all of those things. And then guess what? We find out what's in alignment to us. We find out what we like. And then we've come right back to being an aligned human being. And we're content little chappies. I was going to say happy chappy, but we're not. We're content.
Yeah, content chappies. And, you know, that might be for a year or 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, right? It doesn't have to be forever. Like, you can change.
I'm so glad you just said that, because I would have banged my head if I re-listened to this and I didn't say that. And that's the thing. We are constantly evolving. Like, oh my gosh, constantly. Yeah. What I enjoy doing in my business a week ago has changed. And that's okay. We are so scared of change. It's actually blown my mind the more I've looked into it and spent time with one-on-ones, is that we are terrified of change. Change is an incredible part of our lives, and the only thing that's certain, right, is change. We hear that all the time. But it's because it's true. So if we can keep up with the fact that we're always changing, I can tell you I love blueberries and I eat them every morning. And then you meet me next week and I'm like, I think I'm allergic. And you're like, you just told me you ate them every morning. I decided it changed, so it changed. Yeah. Like, that's how quickly we are allowed to evolve. Yeah. And I became really comfortable with that in myself and in my business, in my life, that it definitely made everything easier, because something can be working for you and then it all of a sudden isn't. We're constantly evolving, minute to minute to minute to minute to minute to minute, second to second.
Yeah. And I think I just gave myself an own realization. But we'll chat about this afterwards.
Live breakthroughs. I mean, that's what it's about.
So yeah, I reckon on that note we wrap it up.
Yeah.
It's been an hour and 17.
It's a decent one.
Yeah. Fuck, you just get, like, I just feel every time I jump on one of these, it just gets stuck in this, like, other orbit.
Yeah.
And actually my friend was talking about it the other day. It was like, when you do shit that's like, where you lose track of time, like, time isn't a thing. Like, you don't, like, it's kind of
amazing.
Yeah.
Hard to find, but it's amazing.
So yeah, I love this shit.
I freaking love it. It was so much fun, and I love talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess the biggest thing for people is, if you're listening and feel kind of a sense of overwhelm, just sit with it. Just take one bit from it all. Just trial one bit. It's not about understanding it all. Because
listen to it a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, and you listen, and different parts will resonate,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually on that, like, when I listen to audiobooks, well, this is what I used to do. I would listen to an audiobook, and then if I didn't concentrate, I would go back and be like, oh, fucking hell, I didn't listen to that bit. I need to get every single little bit out of this book. And then I realized I'm not going to get every single bit out of this book. So just let it keep going on.
Yeah.
And then pick up from where you left off.
And that's trust.
Yeah. Right? So, just same thing. If you didn't quite get, don't worry about rewinding it.
Yeah.
Just keep going on with it. Sit with it for a bit. Listen to it again next week if you want. And then you'll take a little bit more. And
different bits will drop into your mind as you live life anyhow. But really do sit with yourself and ask yourself, okay, what was my biggest takeaway? What do I want to start implementing? Because that's how we really make the difference in our lives. So if I can leave people with anything, it's that. Always ask yourself, what is my biggest takeaway? And how can I implement that in my life right now? I'm not walking away doing the same thing. I'm actually getting something, nor am I being consumed by overwhelm. Yeah, totally. Awesome. So before you bounce, what have you got going on at the moment? Is there anything you want to plug? Are you taking on clients? Where can people find more about you? Because you are in Melbourne, and there's probably going to be a few listeners in Melbourne. They might want to meet you, catch up with you, whatever. Is there anything you could like to plug? Well, you know what? Why the hell not? So you can find me on the gram. Don't really use anything else on Instagram. Whoops. So Adriana loves, I'm sure, and can check that somewhere as well. Yeah. And is there an underscore after that? Underscore at the end. Yes, yeah. Adriana loves with an underscore at the end. And that is where I share most of what I do. That is where I take bookings. At the moment, I'm not taking long-term privates, but I do always have healings open. So I'm always taking healing/reading intuitive guidance sessions, and I love them. I have 3 on tonight, actually. Wow. So that is always kind of happening, and I am always running different things behind the scenes that are more of in a group space, whether they're masterminds or I'm jumping on to other people's retreats that I can, pass forward. There's always something going on, and I do love my group programs. One just finished. So there's always stuff like that happening. And I always say, I trust. So if it's meant to be yours, it'll fall in your lap at perfectly the right time. You'll be like, shit, you know what? I'm curious. Yeah. So if you are just curious, follow that curiosity, see what they're kind of about. Feels like it's for you. Cool. I love that I get to do singles. It's something that a lot of people were like, don't do it. Like, stick to high ends. Obviously, it's such a money maker, and they feel really quickly for me. But it was really important that I got to offer that one-to-one experience to people that they can walk away and just be like, wow, okay, I can start to implement this stuff right now. And I can feel a sense of clarity and lightness and take action, aligned action. So, yeah. Beautiful. And if anything, just enjoy this, and I'm a happy gal. So, sweet. Yeah, can't wait to hear from some of you and hear what you thought, your biggest takeaways, things you didn't understand or really resonated with. It's always really cool for people to hear. Yeah, so any questions, they can reach out to you on the gram. And 100%.
Cool.
And thank you for having me. And you guys obviously you're listening to this, so you know, if you're listening from, I guess, through me, how incredible Ant is at what he's doing and how far you've come even since we've met, and what you're doing with MindFit. I think I'm just pumped. So
thank you.
I'm truly excited for you. Yeah, I think it's important. Anytime. Pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for coming on.
Yay! Thanks for having me.
Bye.